Hello and thank you for visiting my YouTube channel Historical Rifles. In this episode we will talk about the Swiss Schmidt-Rubin Karabiner 31, which was called in English language Carbine 31, and it was the successor to the earlier variant, the Carbine 11, in German language called Karabiner 11. We did a video on the Carbine 11 some time ago. And before you watch this video, I would suggest you check out the older video on the K11, because the K31 was pretty much an evolution of the K11, and it shares a lot of similarities and does have some distinctive improvements here and there. And when we go over the K31, we will also do a comparison to the K11, so you can see the major differences between the two. The Swiss adopted the Carbine 31, as the name suggests, in the year 31, and it served rather long in the Swiss forces. As far as I read, it served until the 1960s, before it was finally replaced by a semi-automatic and automatic assault rifle, the so-called STGW 58, if I remember correctly. So let's take a closer look and do some comparison. Here at the back we have the K11, the older model, and here at the front we have the K31, the newer model. And I will try to go over the K31 and always do a small comparison to the K11. So as always, we will start at the front. The front sights of the two are pretty similar, I would say. Both have a dovetail driftable front sight. Both use a blade. It is not triangle shaped, it is a blade, and both could be drifted in a diagonal way. Where they differ a little bit are the protective ears, and I will show you the difference. The newer model, the K31, had the ears a little bit bent. I hope you can see it. And the earlier model, the K11, had straight protecting ears. Other than that, I would say the function is pretty much the same and they look very similar. Then let's move on to the front barrel band. They look very similar. In my opinion, they are exactly the same. They both also have the stacking rod, which is very distinctive on the Schmidt-Rubin design. And they both have the same bayonet lug at the bottom. And both accepted the same bayonet. In this case, it's the model 1918. And we can attach it to the K31 a little bit later. But this was the standard issue bayonet for both carbines. So then let's move on. We have here a second barrel band with a side-mounted sling swivel. And also, in my opinion, it is the same between the two. And both also mounted the same sling. This is an original sling. I have one here for the K11. It's the same model. It's not mounted, but it looks like this. And we have here the attachment, quick attachment, which is put here on the sling swivel at the back. I will move the camera a bit. Here at the back this simply is hooked in here, and it's the same here. We have here a sling bar in the buttstock, and it's the same system for both Carbine 11, Carbine 31. So let's move on. Both have a wooden handguard on top here until pretty much the very end of the barrel, which is very good. Both have finger grooves, but they look a little bit different, but have more or less the same function. I will try to align the two. And then we move on to the rear side. And this is where the next, I would say, major changes can be seen. The overall design is very similar, but what is noticeable, I hope you can see it, the K11 did have here a numbering on the side of the sight, which a lot of older designs of that time had. And this is absent here on the K31. I guess this was simply not needed anymore, or wasn't deemed practical. But the rest of the rear sight is actually, I think, the same. It's a tangent rear sight. Both are graduated from 100 to 1500 meters. The function is the same. You press this button, you can move it forward. By moving it forward, you will increase the range, and by moving it backwards, it will decrease the range. Both use the same U-shaped cutout. So this is also the same. I will try to give you a side picture. Might be a little bit difficult today, as we have so much stuff laying around for the video. Whoops. So I hope you can see it. I think you get the idea. Could also move a little closer. Yeah. But as already said, it's more or less the same between the K11 and K31. So then let's move on to the magazine. Both have a detachable magazine, 6 rounds, but they are not interchangeable. They have a different design. But both basically serve the same purpose. They could be attached for cleaning and maintenance, but both were designed to use chargers. Those chargers, those are made of cardboard and are reinforced here at the bottom with aluminium, and they have those small claws where the ammunition was held in place. The brown ones are standard for standard full metal jacket ammunition. The red ones are used for training, for dummy rounds, for those. Then we have white ones, which have an additional cutout here, and it also has a wooden piece put into here, so you cannot put in live rounds into this. It is blocked here by a wooden piece. The white ones were used for blank cartridges, and I can naturally understand why they put this here, so you don't put in live rounds by mistake. And then we have purple ones, which are used for armor piercing rounds. So those are all which I have available. I think I'm not really 100% sure, and my source it also didn't turn up anything, but I think I can remember that I also saw a yellow one, but I couldn't find one yet on the internet, so I'm not sure if I remember correctly, honestly. So I would suggest, so we can play around a bit, we use the dummy rounds. Those are obviously, as we can see, training and dummy rounds. We can load it into the clip, 6 pieces. This is what the loaded charger looks like. And this is, for example, a standard full metal jacket round. It's a live round which you can still buy today, made by S&B and also PPU. PPU, for example, offers soft points for hunting, and S&B, for example, offers full metal jacket, Spitze bullets. It's 7.5 by 55 Swiss, and in my opinion it's an absolutely fantastic type of ammunition. It is very, very accurate, even when you fire it, or especially when you fire it with the Schmidt-Rubin series. They work really great. Recoil is a little bit rough sometimes if the rifle is too short or too light, but with the standard Schmidt-Rubin rifles and carbines, it's okay to use it. It's often used for competition shooting, as far as I heard. So then let's move on to the action. This is where the next major change occurred between the two. As we can see, the older one, the K11, has the port to load the rounds rather at the front, or it is further than the K31, and this has a very special reason why that's the case. It's because the biggest improvement between the two is a new improved bolt, and you can also see it here. The K11 has a rather big gap here between the trigger guard and the magazine, and the K31 does not. The magazine is exactly right after the trigger guard. So basically what they did is they shortened this bolt quite a bit, and I will show you a small comparison to get out the bolt assembly. As with the all other Schmidt-Rubin designs, you press down this lever and simply pull it out. Here it is. We will make some space a little bit later so I can show you. It's the same here for the K11. Just pull back, pull the lever here down, and get it out. So let's move the carbines a bit so we can get some space. So let's compare the two. I think you can see it right away, what the big improvement is. Here, the one at the back is the K11 bolt, and at the front is the K31 bolt. And you can see the K31 bolt is a lot shorter compared to the K11. The biggest change was to move the locking lugs to the front. The locking lugs are now here, and this helped to make it shorter. In the first iterations of the Schmidt-Rubin rifle, the 1889 was the first one. The bolt also looked rather similar. It was even a little bit longer, and the locking lugs were here at this position. Then with the G11 Gewehr 11 rifle 11, they moved it here. It's also the same for the carbine 11, and it was quite a bit. It was the biggest point of criticism at that time, that the bolt is so long. And with the K31, they managed to shorten the bolt, move the locking lugs to the front, and this helps, or it is a better way actually to lock a bolt, because it is better to accept the forces from the round, and it's also better so you can save a lot of space. Why was this bolt even so long in the first place? Somebody might ask. This was because the rifle 1889 was initially designed for black powder cartridges, and black powder doesn't burn very well, and it often leaves a lot of smoke and particles. And so this was that the smoke and particles are not directly at the locking lugs, but as the newer one, the K11, K31, and also the rifles to them did not use any black powder cartridges. In fact, as far as I remember, the GP11 7.5 by 55 never had any black powders cartridges. They were always smokeless powder. So this was more or less a design where they changed from the old GP90 to the new GP11 and they thought they would have to design the bolt for black powder, but actually it was never used with those. But anyway, this is the biggest improvement between the two. What they also changed, you might notice, the K11 used here some, I think that's either wood or bakelite, I'm not really sure, honestly. And here the K11 used aluminium, or I think it's aluminium or some other metal. So let's put in those bolt assemblies again. To put it in, whoops, then you press down the lever here, push it in, it will lock onto the follower of the magazine. So it has a bolt lock open feature like the K11. You have to depress the follower a little bit, then you can move it forward. Be careful so you don't get stuck with your fingers. And we will do the same here for the, let's move this a little bit. So I will move a little bit to the camera so you can see what I do. It's the same here. Depress the lever, move it in. It locks on the follower of the magazine. And you can decock it as I showed in the last video. So I would say I will show you next the function, which is in my opinion exactly the same from the K11. There is nothing new, it's just a shorter action, but the function is the same. To load the rifle, just do a straight pull back. It's very smooth, the same as the K11. Then you take the charger, which are dummy training rounds, no live rounds, and you put it here into the cutout. Looks like this. And you simply press down, which is also extremely smooth. Then you just take out the charger and slam forward the straight pull bolt. And it's loaded. You can see this by the bolt handle here. This is a ring shaped, and if it's in the rearward position, it is cocked, and you can uncock it by pulling it a little bit, pressing the trigger and let it slide forward slowly. It's uncocked. But you can also cock it. It's cocked again, and you can fire now. And you can also put it into safety mode, turn it a little bit until it slides here into the cutout, and it's now in safe position. To put it into life again, oops, and it's cocked and ready to be fired. Let's uncock it again. To unload the rifle, simply pull back the straight pull bolt. The first round will get ejected from the chamber. And as we can see, we have still rounds loaded in the magazine. We can then push here the button and get the magazine out. And the same as every magazine, slide the rounds out forward. Oops, sorry. Magazine is empty. We can put it back into the carbine and push down the follower of the magazine a bit and close the bolt. Uncock it, and we are safe again. Triggers are very similar between the two. They look a little bit different, but in my opinion, they work the same. They also feel the same for me, so there is not much of a difference. Concerning the markings, and what I do like is that the K31, this one has now a very nice Swiss cross on it. So then let's move on. Both have, I would say, the same semi-pistol grip with the very distinct bend shaped here, which they started to use with the G11 and Rifle 11 and also the Rifle 96/11, which was the updated version of the Rifle 96 when they converted those to the G11 pattern. They are very nice. You have a very good grip. What I like a little bit better about the K31, that they managed to hide this part of the trigger guard. Here in this case, you can always feel a little bit the trigger guard, the screw here, and they managed to get away with this, and it's a lot, I would say, more comfortable to grip this one. The rest, the buttstock and also the butt plate, also the bent butt plate here, in my opinion, is exactly the same. I didn't find any real differences. Maybe what I'm not sure if this was a design or if it's different because one is has been used a lot more. As you can see, the K11 is almost new from the condition, and the K31 did see a lot of service. It has a lot of bumps, but the sling bar here is farther into the wood than the sling bar here. You can feel the screws here, and here is nothing which you can feel because it has been put down into the wood. I'm not sure if this was an intentional design or because this one moved down over time when it was used. So I'm not really sure what else to say about those. What I would like to show you, I decided to always include the bayonets in the videos whenever possible, whenever I have those. In this case, I have the model 1918 standard issue bayonet for both Karabiner 11 and Karabiner 31, and attachment is exactly the same. Just slide it here onto the bayonet lock, and here you shove it onto the end of the barrel. I always depress the button, it is easier this way, and that's it. It's locked onto the rifle. In my opinion, it is a great bayonet design. For me personally, this design it's used a lot in a lot of different countries and a lot of different rifles and carbines. But this is for me the best bayonet design which they came up with at that time. To dismount the bayonet, you press this release button and slide it forward. Whoops, it's often a little bit stuck, and it's unmounted again. And we will put it in here again, because this one is in fantastic condition and I want to keep it that way. So that's pretty much it from the K31. Some final words on the two, which is always a little bit personal opinion. I think both are very well thought out carbines. The design is absolutely fantastic. They are very balanced carbines. From the weight, they are a little bit, I would say they have more weight than some of the other nations, but this is also due to the fact, in my opinion, that the length of the two of the carbines is more like a short rifle than a carbine. If you compare these two carbines of other nations, I have one of my carbines, I think it's the 19-2 from FN, from the Brazil forces. It's like, from the length, it goes up until here, so I hope you can see it. So those are a lot longer. I changed the camera a bit, sorry. This is also one of the factors why the weight is quite heavy, and also because it has detachable magazine, which does have some additional weight, and the whole straight pull bolt assembly is also quite heavy, I guess. But still, those are very good carbines. The Model 31 stayed in service rather long and was used a lot by the Swiss forces. And this is one of the factors which shows that this was really a good design, because if it would have been a bad design, they would have replaced it earlier, I think. Concerning collecting, both can be found on the collector's market. I think that the K31 can be found a little bit easier than the K11. It always depends on what kind of shape and quality you're looking for. I always prefer to have them in a really good shape. So it took me a lot more time to find a good K11 than a K31. From the price, they are pretty much the same on the market at the moment. And to use them for firing competitions and stuff like that, in my opinion, they are pretty much equal concerning the performance. Some people say that the K31 is a lot better because of the shorter locking mechanism than the K11, but honestly I could not feel any difference between the two yet. But naturally I also have to say I am not a professional competition shooter. I do this mostly as a hobby because my focus is collecting and not shooting. So that's it, I think. I would recommend it to anybody to get those if you have a chance. They are really high quality carbines. You can find them on the market. You can also get replacement parts. Those are also available on the market at the moment. Ammunition is available here also. A standard ammunition. It's not that expensive, and they work like a charm. Those are more or less some of the smoothest rifles and carbines which I own, especially from the straight pulls. Those are at the very top from the quality and from the smoothness. So honestly, thinking about it, I don't have anything negative to say about those. I think those are great pieces of history. So that's it. I want to thank you very much for your time. Please check out the earlier video on the K11 if you want some more details about this one. If you like what I do, I would be very happy if you give me a like and also subscribe to my channel. It does help a lot. Please also share my channel to your friends and people who are interested in the history of weapons of World War I and World War II. And I will do another video soon. I have already planned one, which I might do in the next few days. And I hope you will check this out too. Thank you very much. Bye bye.